So I just got back from watching Terrifier 3, so I decided that it is time to stop and rank all 3 Terrifier movies from the least great to the best. Now, the reason why I'm doing a ranking video instead of making a full video review of Terrifier 3 is I'm a week late, and I'm honestly quite ashamed of it. And before today, I had never seen any of the Terrifier films, so I binge-watched them all in a row, and I figured that I'd share my opinion. Point of reference, I love all these films. I think that they're all great, and I think the bottom 2 films on this list are easily interchangeable, and my opinion might change tomorrow, is what I'm saying. With all that out of the way, let's get started. In third place, we have Terrifier 2. Now, like I said earlier, this and the film in the second spot could easily change at any given moment. And honestly, I think this is just a great modern slasher. I don't really have too many complaints about it, so I'm just going to talk about what I liked about it so much. I thought that this film did a great job at expanding on what worked so well in the first movie, but also improving on the shortcomings of that first film. Granted, I feel like it had some shortcomings of its own, but we'll get to that in a bit. First things first, I think that Art the Clown continues to be amazing in this film. In this movie, he absolutely solidifies himself as the single greatest modern horror icon that I can really think of. I think that he stands toe-to-toe with Michael Myers, Freddy, and Jason Voorhees, because that is just how good he is. Now, while the kills might not be as, holy shit, as the first film, I thought that they were still very good here. They don't happen quite as frequently, but when they do happen, they're very memorable. This film also has a lot of great lore that it introduces, and that is something that is kind of a downside because it does introduce a lot of lore very quickly, and it doesn't explain any of it. You just kind of have to figure it out for yourself, but I did quite enjoy it. Now, the thing that probably sets this apart from the first film the most is that it actually has a real lead character with real emotions and a real backstory. I quite enjoyed the characters introduced in this film. I thought that Sienna was a great introduction to the franchise, and she serves as a protagonist in Terrifier 3, which I will get to then. Unfortunately, the film is a bit too long. I feel like it's a little bit bloated. I think it spends a little bit too much time setting up all the characters, and it doesn't spend quite enough time on Art the Clown. So that's my 2 biggest issues, is that it spends too much time on the regular people and not enough time on Art. But all that considered, this is still a very fun slasher movie with a lot of great memorable kills, a pretty interesting story, and just a lot of fun to be had. All things considered, I really enjoyed Terrifier 2. I would give it a decent 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a good movie, great slasher. I would highly recommend it. Our runner-up is the original Terrifier. I was very excited to watch the film, and it did not disappoint. Like I mentioned, it doesn't really have a lead character, and that is probably its biggest downside. It didn't really have a character to root for. Art the Clown is so incredibly entertaining in this movie. His performance is just so fun and insane that it makes everything else in the film just not matter at all. Art the Clown is clearly the main character here. There's a lot that this actor does that really sells him. He's so creepy. He's also oddly hilarious. His kills are equally gruesome and awesome, for lack of a better word. There's this one kill that involves a girl hanging upside down in a saw, and it is just awesome. There's a lot of great kills in the movie, and that's really what sells it, is that the kills are fantastic. Easily some of the best kills I've ever seen in any slasher movie. My only real issue with the film is A, its lack of a main character, and B, it does feel a little bit too long, because this was the feature-length version of the short film that Damien Leone had made just a little while prior. And it does kind of feel like that. Spoiler alert if you care, you kind of lose the main character halfway through the movie, and then you get a new main character, and that does kind of feel a little bit weird to me, and it does fumble a little bit in that department, but it is more than made up for by some of the most memorable kills I've ever seen in any slasher movie, and Art the Clown just being an absolute delight to see. I would give the original Terrifier, again, a decent 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a great slasher movie, but it is bogged down by a lack of a main character and some pacing issues. But coming at number 1 is Terrifier 3. I thought that this was just such an incredible slasher movie. I literally don't have any complaints whatsoever, so I'm just gonna start heaping praise onto it. This film is so fun. Art the Clown is the best that he's ever been here. He is absolutely insane. He dresses up as Santa Claus because this is a Christmas movie, and it is just so fun and entertaining. This is also by far the most gruesome movie in the franchise. I didn't think it was possible to top the first one in kills, but they did. There's this one specific kill in a locker room that is just so insane. I can't describe it. It's just insane, and it's gruesome. And while the first two movies were a lot more campy, this one was actually pretty disturbing. There's a lot of moments that genuinely had me cursing at the screen. Oops, just lost 10 minutes of footage. Okay, so the lead character from Terrifier 2 actually returns in this film, Sienna, and I think that she does a great job. This film very much so follows Sienna and Jonathan in the aftermath of the first film. It takes place 5 years later, so Sienna has been in and out of mental institutions for the last 5 years, and Jonathan is in college now, and it really shows how these two characters were able to cope with everything that happened. There's this one new character at Jonathan's college who is running a true crime podcast, and she keeps bothering Jonathan and Sienna about interviewing them on her podcast so that she can get the views and the likes and whatever. And there's this great sequence in which Sienna just goes off on her for trying to exploit her trauma, and it's one of the best emotional sequences in the film. This film also introduces a new character, Gabby, who is Sienna's niece, and their dynamic and their bond is very compelling, and Gabby is also explored quite a bit. There's a very good amount of screen time that is dedicated to exploring Sienna and Gabby's bond, and I thought that it worked really well, and that made the climax of the film that much more intense. Now, Art the Clown here is the best that he has ever been. He does so many amazing things with the Santa costume. There's this one amazing sequence in a bar that involves a mall Santa, and I just won't spoil it because it is so hilarious. And there's another great sequence where he is pretending to be a mall Santa, which again I won't spoil because it is just awesome. And I won't spoil it, but it also involves Art having an accomplice. And in most horror movies, even Saw, anytime that the killer has an accomplice, it's kind of tiring, but I thought that it worked quite well here. They worked together in a very interesting way, and it was nice for Art in a way to have a mouth that he can actually talk out of, so he can hear some of the devilish things going on in his or their collective hive mind. I'm not really sure how it works. Much like Smile 2, this film is amazingly paced. It is 2 hours, but it feels like 30 minutes because there's always something happening, whether it is a brutal kill, Art just fucking around, or a genuinely interesting emotional sequence. Whether it's any of those, there's always something happening. This film is also very well edited. There's almost no dead space, and anytime that there is dead space, it's for the purpose of leaving the audience some time to breathe, because if there wasn't, in that moment, you wouldn't be able to truly appreciate the horror that had just occurred. I don't really have any real complaints. If I was reaching for one complaint, it would definitely be that the ending is a little bit rushed, but they're running on a low budget, so they kind of just did what they could. Now, really, I love Terrifier 3. Hell, I love all three of these movies, but Terrifier 3, it's just the cleanest out of all of them. It's very fun, it's very entertaining, it is hilarious, but also oddly disturbing, and honestly, I loved it. It's a great slasher movie, and it's one of the best horror movies of the year, and for all those reasons and many more, it comes in at number 1 with a very decent 4.5 out of 5. I love this film. I think it's absolutely worth checking out. Have you guys seen the Terrifier movies? If so, what did you think? Make sure to let me know down below in the comment section. And if you want to see more ranking videos like this, make sure to let me know, because I'm actually sitting on an unedited Alien franchise ranking. I just haven't had time to edit it yet. And by the time I did have time, Alien had already been out for a month. So, if you guys want to see that, just let me know down below in the comment section. And with all that out of the way, I'll see you guys in the next video.